Welcome to the Real Board Loft. I'm Trent Foreman. We have Brett Barley with us, and we are here, season 2, Under the Glass, reviewing boards. And the next board up is the Pyzel Radius. Brett, I know you have a lot to say.
I do have a lot to say
about this board.
The first thing I want to say is that this wasn't initially going to be an Under the Glass.
No, this was initially going to be under your arm at Pipeline.
Yeah, I was going to Hawaii last year. I was supposed to. Had some boards ordered for the North Shore, ordered some guns. I wanted to get a short board from Pyzel. Mm-hmm. And I forget what I was going to order. And then I think Pyzel told you that oh no, I've been making the Radius for the team guys on the North Shore. That's what they ride. So I was like, okay, well, I don't know. So anyway, boards were made. I ended up having to have ear surgery, so I couldn't go. We got them shipped over here, and this thing just sat on ice. We were filming all the other boards for Under the Glass. And then I took a trip to Peru with O'Neill this summer, and I took this board because I wanted to ride it so bad just to try it out. And the first 2 sessions I had, I was just like, whoa, this is like what I've wanted in a high performance shortboard. And immediately just sparked I was like, okay, I'm gonna save this for when it's really rippable, just the right waves. I didn't want to break it. Like comp guys will have boards that they just put on ice. Yeah. For heats. And I was like, ooh, I want to save this one for when it's good. So this fall the waves were super fun and we had enough of it. And I just was so excited to hop on this thing. And it instantly, if Peru wasn't enough, the first session that I had on this fall, it instantly was that's it. That's my board. That's my go-to high performance shortboard.
And so this board, kind of with everything that you have access to and in the quiver of everything, this one kind of ended up being your favorite one for the year.
Yeah, and in full disclosure, this was a custom.
Yeah.
But no more than just I want these dimensions. I ordered it the same dimensions as the other company boards that I've ridden straight off the rack. Yep. Didn't get any more detailed with it. Didn't talk to John or anything like that. And it became my all trusty, all reliable shortboard.
Let's talk. You mentioned dimensions. Let's talk dimensions.
Dimensions. So
this thing is.
I'm 5'9", 163 pounds. This is a 5'10" by 18.63 by 2.31. And it says it's 25.5 liters. And something that I've noticed with Pyzel, it's so weird trying to compare, Pyzel, CI, Lost, all these different companies.
Right.
Volume is a metric you pull, but then maybe it was sanded a little more. Maybe one was glassed heavier. There's so many things that go into a board that are going to make it different. With Pyzel, from the Ghosts I've had to this board, compared to everything else, I feel even though it says 25.5, it doesn't feel like that. It feels like 26. It feels like all the other boards I have that are about 26. Kind of like what we were talking about. The one of the boards, it said 26 and it felt way smaller.
Yeah.
So you can't always go by volume. And so this, being the exact same dims as some other short boards I have, it feels pretty similar. I will say it feels more knifed out. The rails are a little more pinched.
Yeah.
And maybe it does feel a little less. But yeah, that's just something that I've noticed, that Pyzel, when you compare the volume on all the Pyzels to the volume on all these other boards, it's a little less than the standard, similar dims.
So it's written less, but it feels more.
It's written less, but it feels
more.
Yeah, it feels more.
Okay.
So I would say it feels like 26 to me.
Yeah, and I would definitely agree with you on the foil. A lot of times his numbers, whatever number it is, especially when you get into the bigger boards, when he throws out a 3 for a thickness and people are just tripping out, but it's really pulled down from the rails. And I know that he carries that down to his, and I only use 3 because it's it's a shocker number.
Yeah, yeah.
But his 2 3/4 is really pulled down. His 2 5/8 is really pulled down. So I do remember when we put the order in, some of those dimensions being coached up just to make sure that it didn't end up being overall too small. Let's talk about a little bit about, it is your favorite board for this category, but what is this category, right? Because all boards are not for everybody.
Yeah, obviously, it's a 5'10" round tail. That's for years been kind of my go-to, because I'm 5'9", been my go-to for the most high performance surf I get. Whether it's from chest high to 2 foot overhead, if I want to be able to do airs and turns and stuff, I really like a 5'10". I don't like the shorter boards, and then I like a round tail personally, just for turns. That's, I was actually talking to Corey Lopez about it this fall. He hates round tails, so it's all personal preference. He doesn't like that it locks in. I like that it locks in. He wants to be able to drift the tail, you know. So it's like, that's personal. But this is just like your run-of-the-mill high-performance shortboard.
And so not everyday shortboard.
Not everyday shortboard. No.
Like good waves.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can feel it. It's got a ton of rocker. The first time I rode it in Peru, the waves were like, it was really bad when we were there.
Right.
But there would be a set like this big every 15 or like 20 minutes. And so when I caught the waves in between that were like this big and soft, it did not go great.
Okay.
And then when I caught the sets, it felt epic. And this fall with the run of waves we had, I was really psyched to get to try it out in some barrels. It went really good in the tube. And then coming out and laying on rail, it just held so well. It was kind of like I just didn't even have to think when I was surfing it.
Right.
It was the kind of board where I was able to hop on it and just be able to like see whatever the wave was doing and do whatever I wanted to do. I didn't feel held back in any way. It felt like it went wherever I wanted to. It had drive. Like it was perfect.
Yeah. Well, that was probably, I would say, probably one of the most traveled boards to get it here.
Yeah.
For under the glass.
Right. Made in Hawaii, came here.
Brought all the way in.
And then it was rode for the first time in Peru.
What about, we've talked about the wave range, and it's actually really helpful to hear in the conditions it didn't work.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people like, I'm just going to get that board, it's going to be awesome. But, if you're riding it in soft, small waves, it's not going to work.
I don't know if you can see it in the video, but it does have quite a bit of nose rocker.
What about accessibility? Like on who can ride this board and kind of harness what it's made for?
I mean, I would say intermediate and up.
Okay.
Just in general, my theory is like, as you progress and as you're learning, you don't want to go too narrow too fast or too high performance too fast. Trust it from someone who was on too narrow of a board for like 2/3 of my career in my young adult life. It holds you back. So having a wider board helps you learn how to draw turns out and read the wave and ride the wave proper. Mm-hmm. But obviously once you start getting more advanced and you're really wanting to push it, like whether it's tighter off the top or just like a steeper face, more in the pocket, whatever, that's when boards like this really shine.
Okay.
And so I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for someone that's a beginner going into like wanting their first shortboard. I would get something that's like a little bit wider, a little wider up front for sure. But as far as performance, intermediate and above, it's got all the performance.
Or if you have a board like what you just described, like let's say like a Pyzel Red Tiger for that entry level board or for small waves, and then you're looking for something for better waves, like when it pumps up, this is the board to look at.
Yeah, because I mean the thing is when you start getting, and again too, like not only your ability, but if you start pushing it in better surf, more bully waves, a little more powerful waves, whatever, a wider board actually can be harder, or a longer board can be harder. Because you have to draw things out. And so to do that, you have to be into the wave early. You have to read the wave. So it's just different. And so, if you're trying to like be in the pocket, learn how to do that, push yourself, you need a board that can also maneuver in those places. If it's too wide up front and you're trying to bottom turn really hard and come off the top, like you're gonna dig and you're gonna slide out.
Right.
This board, it was like one of those things where it like felt good under my arm and I felt it and looked at it for so long and then riding it. I would say it was the first time since, leaving Super that, we started all this and trying out all the different brands and all the different boards from all the companies. It was the first time I hopped on a board and was just like, this feels like everything I could ask for in a high performance board.
Is it magic?
It is literally magic.
All right, there you go.
I could have like five of these.
So Brett, let's take a look at the fins that you're riding on that board, because I know that you've been like working with some of the different templates with Futures and like kind of dialing in these boards. What were you riding on the Radius?
Ironically enough, they're Pyzel fins.
Okay.
I didn't start out with them in it. I started, again, like everything I do, I love the John template. I start with that in every single board. I actually tried these fins out in some other shortboards this fall. And I was like, you know what? I wonder how they would go in the Pyzel. And so stuck them in here and found that I did like the template more than the John fins. They're still mediums, just like my Johns are. So no difference there. But I want to say they have a little bit more rake in the tip.
Yep.
And so, when it comes to surfing more kind of powerful, like in the pocket, fast waves, then that is when I typically like a little more rounded off fin. I don't know all of the terms.
Yeah. Well, no, in one of the previous
but-
reviews, you're like, I don't like the pivots as much as I like the rakes, and it's just what blends with your surface.
But I have learned that I like the rake, and that is just like general fact. Like, you want more rake and like faster down the line, more powerful surf.
Yep.
And so, because of what this board's for and the days I rode it, I did enjoy these fins more.
And those are, you said mediums, yeah?
Mediums, okay. Pyzels.
Well, Brett, thank you so much for sharing the feedback on the Magic.
The Magic.
Can I touch it? That was a little weird. Brett, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your feedback on the Pyzel Radius. If any of you out there have any questions on the Radius or would like to order one, either stock or custom, you can always reach us at the shop, 252-987-6000, or look us up online, realwatersports.com/surfing. Thanks for tuning in.